I think so. They're not? One up there. You need a chair? Okay. I don't need you.
That's fine. We don't have one for Leo Levy because he's a citizen, and by definitions are really required. I don't think we require it. But she's from Summit Lake, and she's not. Okay. He represents Summit Lake.
Good.
Thank you and welcome to this meeting of October the 16th?
Right.
Okay, October the 16th, 2017. Thank you for all of you that are in attendance tonight. It's good to see you and thank you for making time for this. I will ask the clerk to do the roll call now.
Roll call. Freeman, Fusco, Hoke, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Mosley, Samples, Neal, Amobian, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Thank you so much. This evening we are going to be led in prayer by Rabbi Alicia Joy Oster. I hope Alicia, go ahead and pronounce it all differently than what I just did. Was that okay? Was I close? Those of you that would care to join us, I presume, have already stood. After we get done with the prayer, we will then say the pledge to the flag, and I want to thank you so much.
Thank you. O Holy One of blessing, we thank you for sustaining us and bringing us to this day. We have just finished your holy days of Sukkot, when we dwell in booths and are asked to see that all is impermanent but your everlasting being. Our affairs seem trivial compared to your eternity, and yet you teach us that each of us matters. Each one of us is made in the image of God. And so we ask for your guidance, that we may administer all affairs fairly and have our hearts open to treat each other with kindness. May you, God, in your eternal wisdom, bring thoughtfulness and care to our decisions. Let us be mindful of your way. You have given us freedom and brought us here to live and prosper in this great country, the United States of America, and to this great city, the city of Akron. As we are taught in the book of Jeremiah, seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. Let us all prosper, but remember that all comes from God. Blessed is the Holy One who listens to and answers our prayer, and together we say, Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Rabbi. I did not mention that the rabbi is from Bethel Congregation, which is on White Pond Drive. So thank you for making the trip down here. It's very much appreciated. We will now do the reading of petitions. Oh, the minutes from our previous meeting.
Meeting of October 2nd, 2017. Council convened in regular session at 7 p.m. with President Keith in the chair. All members were present except Freeman, who was later excused. Minutes of the previous regular meeting read and approved. Reading of petitions and communications. Passage of the consent agenda. Report of standing and special committees. Passage and referral of new ordinances and resolution. Representation from various departments and divisions. Public speaking period. No further business. On a motion by Fusco, council adjourned at 8:09 p.m. to reconvene in regular session on October 16, 2017, or special call.
Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? All in favor? Any opposed? There's one abstention. Councilman Neal.
Okay.
Now we will go to the letters, petitions, and communications.
Notice of stock of D1, D3 liquor permit to On the Scene LLC, 1305 East Archwood Avenue, Ward 5.
Attention Ward Councilwoman Mosley Samples.
Notice of transfer of D2, D2X, D3 liquor permits to the Northside Tavern LLC, 56 North Howard Street.
Attention Ward Councilwoman Mosley Samples.
Correspondence from James Walser expressing disappointment of council meetings.
File.
Correspondence from Bonnie Candle voicing support for Councilman Bob Hope.
File.
Okay.
I would like to take a vote on council. We have some visitors here in the audience. I would like to take a few things out of order, so may I hear a motion that I may take things out of order? Thank you. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, roll call.
Roll call. Freeman, Fusco, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Mosley Samples, Neal, Amobian, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask Christine Curry, Director of Communications, to please do the initial introductions.
Just push that red button.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. Thank you, President Keith, ladies and gentlemen of City Council, Cabinet. This evening we have members of the inaugural class of the Citizens Institute here with us that I'd like to ask to please stand. This program is modeled after best practices in cities across the United States that helps engage citizens and get them more informed and involved in their communities from a governmental standpoint. This was part of Mayor Horgan's initiative to address transparency and to also engage our citizens at a much higher level. We're having a wonderful time. We've got a class of 23 at this time, and they've had an opportunity to go on OSIT tours, to tour our fire stations, to tour our police station, and to get up close and personal looks at some of the policies and procedures here at the City of Akron. Please be seated. At this time, Bruce Alexander, a member of Class 1, would like to make a few comments on behalf of the class.
Thank you. Mr. Alexander, nice to have you here this evening.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ooh, all right. I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for taking part in this. First of all, for Mayor Horgan, first of all, to thank him for allowing us to participate in this first institute that he has for citizens from the city of Akron to participate and see what goes on in local government. I also like to thank city council members. Thank you for all the work that you do here in the city of Akron, for the people of Akron, because if it weren't for you guys, the city wouldn't be as it is today. So we thank you for what you're doing. And also for issue 4, I know it's kind of tough for some people, but issue 4 is something that we really need. And we want to say that at Akron Public Schools, we do support issue 4, and we want to thank all of you for supporting issue 4 because it is something we need to keep Akron safe and strong. So again, thank all of you for what you do at the City of Akron, and thank you for allowing us to be the first class of this institute.
Thank you so much, and thank you all. All of you that came down this evening, it isn't just this evening that you've been involved. Obviously, as Christine Curry mentioned, you've done a number of things. So I want to thank you for your time, your energy, and your effort. And I'm sure that what you've learned, you will pay it forward to others, and will also help us be better at doing our job. So thank you so very much. Okay, now we will go to the consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent agenda? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, roll call.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Mosley Samples, Neal, Amobian, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Thank you very much. Now we will go, if you're following along, we will go to our regular agenda, which is, a lot of it we've already discussed. So what we're going to do right now is to see what we're going to do with these pieces. So our first piece tonight that we come to is in the Committee of Rules with Chairperson Margot Somerville. Margot, what are the wishes of your committee?
Thank you, Madam President. The committee requests time.
Okay, time will be granted. Then we go to Planning. Councilman Fusco, I see that we have 3 public hearings this evening. Since we have 3 public hearings, that means that we may have people in the audience that will be speaking at these 3 public hearings. If you are here to speak, please stand so that you may be sworn in by Brian Bremer of the Law Department. Is there anyone in the audience that will be speaking at the public hearings? Thank you.
All right, please raise your right hand and answer in the affirmative. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bremer. Okay. What we will do now is we will have the clerk read in the first order of business, which is, I'm going to let you go ahead, otherwise I'll be reading it.
Legal notice. Notice hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, October 16, 2017, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in Council Chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a barber shop at 402 Sumner Street.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Vander Jones III is requesting permission to establish a barber shop called College Cuts at this location. The barber shop would occupy one apartment unit in the 4-unit, 2-story building. Besides the petitioner, there will be an additional barber when needed. This neighborhood is highly populated with many residents attending the University of Akron. A small barber shop at this location would complement the retail businesses along East Exchange Street. Due to the density of the neighborhood, it's anticipated the vast majority of the patrons will walk to the barber shop. This mixed-use proposal is an appropriate use of land and should enhance the neighborhood, and both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval subject to conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. Is there anyone in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance? Please come right up to the microphone over here. And what I will ask you to do, you can walk around that way. It'll take you less time. If you would be so kind to state your first name and your last name, and then spell your last name.
Okay.
And give us your address, please.
All right. Vander Jones. My last name is Jones. I'm the third. My address is 852 East Exchange Street. He pretty much covered it. College Cuts is just a barber shop that'll be geared towards cutting the college students, just offering them high quality, affordable cuts. Just real quick, I think the location will be a huge convenience for all the students, and I think it'll benefit the city. So, I mean, if you have any other questions, I'm open.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone to speak against this ordinance? Anyone to speak against? Seeing none, I will now go to the chairperson of planning, Councilman Fusco. What are the wishes of your committee?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules.
Okay. The committee has a favorable report with suspension rules. We will now vote, all of us together, on suspension of the rules. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, please go ahead, Mr. Fusco.
Thank you. I'd like to pull the committee. Mobian? Kamer? Neal? Saworski?
Aye.
So the committee is in favor of this conditional zoning, and I do believe that you had mentioned that the councilperson had been out there, if I recall. Yes. Would you like to, okay. Would you like to turn it over to the councilperson? Please do.
I was able to spend a little bit of time with Mr. Jones and to survey the location, and I was impressed with his sincerity, his ability to persevere. All these are good qualities when it comes to entrepreneurship, which of course he also has a lot of creative ideas about things he can do to make the barbershop involved with the community. He won't have far to go because the barbershop is right in front of a huge collage of college students that walk right past his store. So I guess I'll close with location, location, location. And Mr. Jones was smart enough to identify that, and I think he's going to be very successful, and it's the kind of thing we want to see happening in more places in our city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilman Swirsky. Sir, would you like to tell me how much the average haircut is at your place?
$15.
Thank you. Okay, please, I'll keep that in mind. Okay, we will now vote on this ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, roll call.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Mosley Samples, Neal, Amobian, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
And this ordinance does pass. We will now go to our second one that is up for review for the public hearings. The clerk will read this one in.
Legal notice. Legal notice hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, October 16th during a regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing conditional use to establish a crematorium at 201 Opportunity Parkway.
Thank you very much. Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Hummel Funeral Homes and Crematories is requesting permission to establish a crematorium within this existing structure. Proposed cremation equipment would be located in the northern portion of the building. The units would be utilized for pets and humans. No exterior changes to the building are required, and the only visible pieces of equipment will be 4 roof stacks extending above the roof height. The cremator emits no smoke, soot, ash, or odor. Hummel Funeral Homes and Crematories have been serving the Akron area for 120 years. The petitioner states that moving their crematory equipment and staff from their Copley location is necessary to accommodate the growing number of families choosing cremation. The proposed crematory is in a commercial and industrial area and should have no effect on surrounding properties. Both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval, subject to conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. Now, is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this ordinance? Once again, if you'll please give us your first name, last name, spell your last name, and give us your address, please.
Sure. My name is Brian Meek. Last name is spelled M-E-E-K. My address is 75 East Market Street. I am currently an attorney at Brennan Manor and Diamond, and we represent the petitioner, Hummel Funeral Homes and Crematories, and with me is Hummel Funeral Homes Representative Paul Hummel. As was previously stated, the property is located at 201 Opportunity Parkway. It's a 1.73 acre parcel. We're essentially requesting the permission to establish the crematorium within this existing building. No exterior changes except for the addition of the 4 roof stacks. And again, there's a specific need in the community for the permission to establish this crematorium, given the increasing number of families choosing cremation. As was stated, this will go along with there's not going to be any change to the appearance of the neighborhood, no air emissions, odor, or noise.
Thank you so much. Mr. Hummel, did you want to add anything?
Hi, I'm Paul Hummel, H-U-M-M-E-L. We've been serving the community now again for almost 120 years, and we're looking forward to placing this crematory in the city, bringing it from Copley so that we can better accommodate our families.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone else to speak in favor? Is there anyone in the audience to speak against this ordinance? Anyone to speak against? Seeing none, I will go back now to the councilperson of Planning. Councilman Fusco, what are the wishes of your committee?
I'd like to pull the committee for a favorable report with suspension of the rules.
Please do.
Mobian. Kamer. Neal. Swirsky. Report of the committee is favorable. We ask for suspension of the rules.
Okay. Now we will vote as all of council on suspension of the rules. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, Councilman Fusco, did you want to add anything at all?
There's very little other than this is a very good reuse of an existing building. We'd heard that the planning department, the planning commission all voted in favor of this. The ward council person is in favor as well, so we recommend approval this evening.
Thank you. All those in favor of this ordinance signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, roll call.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Mosley Samples, Neal, Amobian, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
This ordinance does pass. Now we will go to our third public hearing for this evening.
Legal notice. This is, I would like to add Mosley Samples to this piece of legislation as well. Legal notice. Notice hereby given a public hearing will be held by the Council of the City of Akron on Monday, October 16th, during the regular council meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers, 166 South High Street, upon an ordinance authorizing conditional use to construct a commercial building and parking lot on the east side of Talbot Avenue, south of McKinley Avenue.
Thank you. Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you, Madam President, members of council. Raj Basran is the owner of an auto body truck repair shop at 582 South Arlington. He's seeking permission. He's seeking to purchase the 4 vacant city-owned parcels at the southeast corner of the intersection of Talbot and McKinley Avenues. He's also requesting permission to construct a commercial building and fenced parking lot on these properties. The vacant lots were acquired by the city through the land reutilization program, whereby tax delinquent properties are transferred to the city for the cost of just recording deeds. The lots would be sold to the petitioner for 5 cents a square foot. The proposed commercial garage building would be situated 12 feet from the southern property line and 25 feet from Talbot Avenue. The gabled roof would rise to a peak height of 27 feet. Exterior construction materials would consist of 6 feet in height, split-face block, vinyl siding above, and an asphalt shingled roof. The remaining L-shaped area to the north would provide asphalt paved parking for 10 vehicles. Parking lot would be screened by a 6 feet in height solid fence with 25-foot landscape buffer between the fence and the sidewalk. This auto body shop has been at this location since 1974 and has been an asset to this neighborhood. The proposed building represents a significant investment into this neighborhood and would allow the petitioner to remain at the business and grow his business. Both Planning Commission and Planning staff recommend approval subject to conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Antonucci. Once again, if there is anyone in the audience to speak in favor, please come up and state your first name, last name, and spell your last name for us, please.
I'm Raj Basran, B-A-S-R-A-N. I'm the owner of All Around Body Shop at the location of 582 South Arlington Street.
Okay, and why are you in favor of this?
Sorry. So my mom and dad started the business back in 1974. They were immigrants from India, and the city of Akron was kind enough to welcome them to open and establish a business. It was at that time a 2-bay gas station, and over the years they expanded right here with different councilmen and women to 2 expansions, one in the 70s and one in the 80s. And I too, 3 years ago, we expanded with the city as well, because we have recently changed to a truck format. We're now just repairing trucks, and our business has increased dramatically because of this. So we are landlocked on Arlington Street, and we have no room to grow. We are now parking our trucks across the street. The pastor at the church has been kind enough to let us rent some space there, but we need to have these assets in a secured parking lot, which we do not have. So gaining and purchasing this land would be vital for us to not only just park those vehicles adjacent to our building in a secured area, but also allow us to add on another building where we could also repair trucks in. With that, if you all have any questions, I'm here for you.
Thank you so very much. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak in favor of this ordinance? Is there anyone in the audience to speak against this ordinance? Is there anyone in the audience to speak against? If you have been sworn in and you have your hands raised, you may come up. If you did not get sworn in, would you please stand so that we can swear you in? Was she sworn in? Okay.
My name is Maxine Hosch Roberts, H-O-S-C-H, Roberts, R-O-B-E-R-T-S. My address is 3183 Bickley Circle. However, my mother's address is 594 Talbot Avenue. I'm here as the daughter of Rita Hush, whose property is 594 Talbot Avenue, which is the one most vastly affected economically, aesthetically, and not to mention the pure peace my mother has had in her home for over 40 years. We're asking that the request be denied to allow All Around Body Shop to construct a commercial building on a residential street and invade the privacy of residents on Talbot Avenue. The proposed petition to turn peaceful, well-maintained lots, which could commonly be referred to as green space, into an area for a body shop to conduct its business is total disregard for the taxpaying residents on Talbot Avenue. Just this past Saturday morning, I was at my mom's house, and we have breakfast over there every Saturday morning, and the door was open because it was so nice outside. We eventually had to close the door because the noise from the body shop a block over was so loud, and I actually recorded a few seconds of it. I'm standing inside my mother's living room door with the screen open, and this is what it sounds like. Now, that's inside my mom's house, a block over. Now, I shudder to think what it would sound like if they're right across the street from my mom's house. My mother is a retired educator who unfortunately suffers from dementia at this stage in her life. And things like loud noises, lots of people, unfamiliar things happening around her increases her anxiety. So I applaud All Around Body Shop for being there for 40 years, however long they've been there, and an opportunity to expand their business in these tough economic times. However, I think they should maintain their business over on Arlington in the zoned commercial area as opposed to coming over in a residential area and invading the privacy of the homeowners over there. Improvement is needed in the neighborhood, no question about it. But that improvement can be, I don't know, through ENDC or some other community-oriented organization that builds homes for maybe someone who is not in a position to straight out buy a home and get a loan for a home for their first as a home buyer. So I ask council and the members of the committee to ask yourself the question if you would like that construction, that building. I believe at the last meeting it was 25 feet, a 25-foot building. Now it's up to 27. I don't remember what all the other dimensions were, but ask yourself the question if you want that commercial business across the street from your own house. Some of the members of the, I think that's the planning committee, commission, whatever it is, voted against the variance, and they had a hard time because they said they wouldn't want that building across the street from their homes. And not to mention, I'm not sure what added benefit to the community itself, the ward, it would bring. So I ask you to search your conscience and do the same thing as the ones that voted against the other one, although as a whole the majority ruled. But on behalf of my mother, I ask that you deny this petition for the variance and allow her to remain safe in her home, uninhibited by all the activity of a body shop. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, no, please do not. Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak against? Please state your first name, last name, and spell your last name and give us your address, please.
Good evening. My name is Alexis Schuler, S-H-U-L-E-R, and I reside at 606 Talbot Avenue, across the street from the open property in question. I have lived in this neighborhood for 7 years now. I'm one of the younger residents who are raising children in this neighborhood. As you just heard from the previous speaker, we hear the noise of the body shop every single day. I was sitting out there 9:30 this morning before I left for work, and I heard it. I understand wanting to expand. Yes, the business has been there a long time, but as I think about not only the noise, the change in the traffic, the fact that we have school buses coming in and out of there every day and school vans with our kids, it just does not, I don't know how to say it, it's going to disrupt things and make it way more difficult for us residents in that neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak against? I see your hand, but you may come up. Yes, absolutely. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Marcia Dunn, D-U-N-N. My address is 744 Merton Avenue, Akron, Ohio, 44306. I am the oldest daughter of Rita Hush, whose house is located at 594 Talbot Avenue, which will be directly across from the building that we are fighting against. As my sister said, my mom, she's a retired teacher from Akron Public Schools, and she's always done a lot in the community. I, this morning, thought about the history for me, we moved in that house when I was in like 5th grade, and I can remember all the different fights that we had to fight in that neighborhood, the fights against prostitution, the fights against drugs, the fights against all the vacant houses and rundown things. And I think it's so unfair for homeowners to stick with Akron instead of just leaving, to stick in there, to keep their properties up, to invest in those homes. The properties are already losing value, and they keep losing. They just had another decrease of about 6,000 or 7,000 for myself and my mom's home. And that's huge when you think of you're only valuing the property, you've already decreased it to about 40,000. So that's a huge amount. So you put all this money in a house and time, you invested in a neighborhood, and you stick there and you fight, and now it's time for retirement for people. They should be able to, now that that's cleaned up, you should be able to sit in that home, to enjoy it, to look, now you can finally look across that street and see clear. You don't see danger, you don't worry about people hiding behind vacant buildings because it's open. You feel safe. And now at this point of people fighting all these years, because like I said, we moved there when I was in 5th grade. I am 57 years old. That's a long time to fight. And to get to this point now, I don't understand. I understand all around body has been there a long time, but they are not. I know he said before in our first meeting that he was our neighbor. Not really. You don't live there. You don't know the neighbor. I can name those empty lots, the people that lived there. Those were my neighbors. We knew each other. We helped each other. That's what we do. That's what we still do. And so to fight all these years and come to this point and have this meeting where you get to decide that his body shop is more important than people that stayed there and fought all these years. And to me, you're sending a message that people should have got out a long time ago. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience to speak against? Anyone else to speak against? Seeing none? Oh, is there one?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Mary Law, L-A-W. I live at 590 Talbot Avenue. I have lived there for 47 years. We've been through a lot in our neighborhood. I like where I am at. I would like to stay there. I do not want any body shop, and I don't think nobody in here that lives in their neighborhood wants a body shop in a residential area. I am, might as well say, retired. I do work part-time, but I'm about to retire because my husband just had a stroke. So we're there, and we would like to have peace and quiet. We do not want a bunch of trucks coming in and out, but I'd like to stay in my home if at all possible. But with all that's going on, and we've been through a lot in that neighborhood, and as she has forestated, we do try to help one another, and I don't think anyone would like that type of building in their residential area. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else to speak against this ordinance? Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Marcella Hush. I'm the middle daughter of Rita Hush at resident 594 Talbot Avenue. I'm going to keep it short. I just want to support what my sister said, and I just, when you guys were up here doing the Pledge of Allegiance, and it ended with "and for all," we want justice. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak against this ordinance? Anyone else to speak against? Seeing none, I will go now to the council person in charge of this chairmanship, Mr. Fusco. What are the wishes of your committee?
I'd like to pull the committee to refer this item. Mobian? Kamer? Neal? Saworski?
Aye.
Okay. This item will then be referred, which means we will be taking time on this item.
Yes, thank you. The committee would like to request time on 4.
Time will be granted on 4.
I'd like to file items number 5 and 6. Those are the petitions for the conditional uses that we just voted on this evening.
Okay. 5 and 6 will be filed.
And time on the balance, thank you.
And time on the remainder, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Public service. Councilman Kamer, what are the wishes of the committee?
Madam President, the committee's report is time on the agenda, please.
Time will be granted. Public utilities, Councilman Neal, what are the wishes of the committee?
Madam Chair, the committee's request is continued time.
Time will be granted. We will now go to new legislation. The clerk will read in our first piece.
Item 0, offered by Councilman Hope, resolution expressing its continued support for and urging the passage of issue 4 on November 7th, 2017, and declaring an emergency.
Councilwoman Margot Somerville, what are the wishes of your committee?
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to be clear that Akron City Council, this body, did pass a resolution supporting issue 4. This piece is actually a resolution continuing our support. The sponsor, Mr. Bob Hoke, is not here today, so the committee is asking for time.
And time will be granted.
Okay, item 0A, offered by Freeman. Ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee in partnership with the United Way of Summit County to apply for grant funding through the Bloomberg Philanthropy Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund to attain a 2017 Financial Empowerment Center grant and declare an emergency.
Councilman Freeman, what are the wishes of your committee?
The committee's report is favorable, and we're asking for suspension of the rules.
Okay. The committee has a favorable report. They're requesting suspension of the rules. We will now vote as a council on suspension of the rules. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Councilman?
The city, in partnership with the United Way, is seeking this grant through the Bloomberg Philanthropy City for Financial Empowerment. Basically, the dollars are going to be used to establish a site in the 9th Ward where individuals that are working, yet at the same time are struggling to make ends meet, would be able to come for financial expertise, and with that, we ask for its passage.
Thank you, Councilman Freeman. All those in favor of passage of this ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, roll call.
Roll call and final passage. Freeman, Fusco, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Mosley, Samples, Neal, Amobian, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky. Okay. Item 0B, offered by Freeman, ordinance authorizing the purchasing agent without the formality of advertising for bids to enter into a contract or contracts with White Space for the redesign of the municipal court website, the amount of which is not to exceed $30,000, and declare an emergency.
Thank you. Councilman Freeman, what are the wishes of your committee?
This afternoon, the committee requested that this item be placed on the consent agenda, please.
This item shall be placed on the consent agenda. Now we will go to planning.
Item number 1, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the Director of Department of Planning and Urban Development to enter into an agreement or agreements with the Urban Neighborhood Development Corporation, UNDC, to provide for the construction and sale of moderate-cost single-family homes on a nonprofit basis within the community development activity area, authorizing payment therefore and declaring an emergency.
Councilman.
Consent agenda.
Councilman Fusco, this item will be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay. Item number 2, offered by Fusco, ordinance authorizing the city to donate an easement interest in the city property to Children's Hospital Medical Center of Akron and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Fusco, what are the wishes of your committee?
Thank you. Refer?
This item will be referred. Now we will go to public service.
Okay, item number 3, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to enter into a cooperation agreement with AT&T and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer, what are the wishes of your committee?
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is to place this item on the consent agenda, please.
Okay, this item will be placed on the consent agenda. Public utilities.
Okay, item number 4, offered by Neal, ordinance ratifying the actions of the Director of Public Service through the Office of the Purchasing Agent in entering into a contract with Sulzer Pump Services Incorporated for the emergency removal, inspection, repair, and reinstallation of 2 currently inoperable vertical turbine pumps at the Akron Water Plant, declaring an emergency.
Councilman Neal, what are the wishes of your committee?
Madam Chair, committee's request is consent.
This item shall be placed on the consent agenda.
Okay. Item number 5, offered by Neal, ordinance authorizing Director of Public Service through the Office of the Purchasing Agent without the formality of advertising for bid to enter into a contract with EMP Power and Water Solutions Incorporated for the purchase of Ovation controllers to upgrade existing controllers during the step feed improvement project at the water reclamation facility and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Neal, what are the wishes of your committee?
Committee's request is consent agenda.
And this item shall be placed on the consent agenda. We will now go to public safety.
Item number 6, offered by Kamer, ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for and to accept, if awarded, funding for the Northern Ohio Golf Charities Grant Program and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer, what are the wishes of your committee?
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is to place this item on consent agenda, please.
This will be placed on the consent agenda.
Item 6A, offered by Kamer, ordinance amending or supplement and/or supplementing Title VII Traffic Code, Chapter 76, Parking Regulations, Article 1, generally of all the codified ordinances to amend Section 76.30, handicap parking, and declaring an emergency.
Councilman Kamer, what are the wishes of your committee?
Thank you, Madam President. Committee's report is to place this item on consent agenda.
This will be placed on the consent agenda. Now we will go to health and social services.
Okay. Item number 7, offered by Amobian and Mayor Horgan, resolution approving and confirming the appointments of Mayoshi Levy, Connie Swain, Karen Herdalika to the Senior Citizens Commission for terms ending August 1st, 2020.
And you should have been given each the resumes of 2 of our candidates here. I believe we have another one coming. Oh, no, another one won't be coming in, but you have those 2 there. They should have been given to you prior to the meeting. Councilwoman Amobian, what are the wishes of your committee?
The committee's report is favorable. We ask for suspension of the rules.
Okay. The committee has a favorable report, and they are requesting suspension of the rules. All those in favor of suspension of rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, Councilwoman, would you like to speak on this?
Yes, I wanted to mention that We have the two resumes, but these individuals are being reappointed to the Senior Citizens Commission. This commission was reactivated in 2016 by the mayor, and there are 10 members, 5 members that are senior citizens and citizens that are active in the community, and then the other 5 members are individuals who engage in planning and or delivery of services for senior citizens. And these 3 individuals, 2 of them are part of the planning and service delivery, and the other person is one of the senior citizens. And they are being reappointed for 3-year terms. And so this is a reappointment. And these individuals came before us in 2016 for a 1-year appointment.
Thank you. All those in favor of this resolution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing and hearing none, roll call.
Roll call and final passage: Freeman, Fusco, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Mosley Samples, Deal, Amobian, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Thank you. We have our last ordinance here.
Item number 8, offered by Mayor Horrigan, resolution establishing October 22nd through the 28th, 2017 as Lead Poisoning Prevention Week, and encouraging Akron parents and grandparents who care for children under the age of 6 to ensure lead-safe environment and participate in the lead prevention program the City of Akron provides, and declare an emergency.
Councilwoman Amobian, what are the wishes of your committee?
The committee's report is favorable, and we ask for suspension of the rules.
The committee has a favorable report requesting suspension of rules. Council as a whole, we will now vote on suspension of rules. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Councilwoman?
This is a particularly important service, and I hope people take advantage of it. We have been offering this service for a number of years now, but it's interesting because it provides funding for individuals who have children in their home, small kids, children that are less than 6 years old, and we have, I hate to say lots of dollars. Is Mr. Tatum here? He could tell us how many dollars.
No, he's not in the
But
audience.
we have quite a few dollars. We would like to provide those services to those individuals who are providing those services to children to remove that lead-based paint from homes. Most of the homes that were built before 1978 have that lead-based paint, and that is poisonous to children. So next week we will be celebrating this lead prevention program for the City of Akron, and we hope people spread the word for people to look into this. And I understand you can go on our website and get as much information as you want about this program, because a lot of people are eligible, and we would like to see these funds be utilized. Thank you very much.
You're so welcome, Councilwoman Amobian. I would just like to add on this before we vote, is that even if you don't have your own children in the home, but you're caring for maybe a grandchild or something like that for at least 2 hours a day, and 60 hours, I believe, for a year, I believe that's what it is. Please look into this. Please get on the website. It may not be you, but it may be somebody else that can benefit from this grant. And as Councilwoman Amobian mentioned, we've been doing this for a number of years. It's very worthwhile. And many of us, we have kids that are now buying their first homes or whatever. They can even check into this too as they start their young families. It can be very helpful. And all of my council members, if you remember, Thomas Tatum and Doug Taylor would be happy to come to council meetings to explain this. So kind of keep that on your radar too. We will now vote on this ordinance. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing and hearing none, roll call.
Roll call and final passage: Freeman, Fusco, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Mosley Samples, Neal, Amobian, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
Thank you. That is all of our new legislation. And before we move on to public comment, I would like to make an announcement. And at our, well, I think it would be best if I stood. At our September the 11th City Council meeting,
behavior unbecoming of a council person, and in violation of the body's rules and spirit of proper conduct in which our citizens expect of all trusted servants was breached. After careful consideration, it has been recommended by council leadership, and I will be making a motion to remove Councilman Bob Hoke from his chairmanship of public service until the first of the year, January 2018. Is there a second to my motion?
Motion for council as a whole.
There is a second by motion of council as a whole. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion in the second as council as a whole signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, the motion passes. And pursuant to Rule 3.5 of City Council, the Committee on Committees will now convene. The Committee on Committees is Fusco, Freeman, Amobian, Kilby. We've convened in Conference Room 1 at this point in time. And so if you would all please move over. Oh, we did vote on it. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Aye. Aye, right. Any opposed? Seeing none? Roll call.
Roll call, Freeman, Fusco, Kamer, Keith, Kilby, Milkovich, Mosley, Samples, Neal, Amobian, Sims, Somerville, Swirsky.
All those that I read your name?
has like what's real.
Why would you vote for instead of another vote? I'll double check. Hey, there's no reason why you don't double check. You know what I mean? It can't be turned off. Now we got the secret. Well, that's always been that way.
Yeah, or you have one for,
They're like, who?
you gotta do something else. Yeah.
When they figured it out, tell me. Not tell the president. It's your dad. You see where I went there?
The committee upon committees met and was voted that in Councilman Hoke's absence, that Councilwoman Veronica Sims would take the chairmanship position until the end of the year. We will now go to the public comment period. If you wish to speak to council during this time, you can approach the podium. You must sign in. You must. Then state your full name, spell your last name, and give us your address. I also need your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak to this body. Speakers are reminded that this is an official meeting. Remarks will be kept respectful and germane to council business. Speakers will refrain from making personal attacks. Anyone who breaches decorum will be ruled out of order and will be removed from council chambers. Mr. Brode, nice to have you here tonight.
Nice to be here. My name is Russ Brode, B-R-O-D-E, and I am the president of Akron Firefighters Association, Local 330. President Keith, members of council, thank you for letting me speak again this evening. Got three quick topics. I'll try and speak quickly on them. The first thing is I want to thank council for their proclamation. Last Thursday, as you all know, Akron Firefighters Local 330 held our annual Fallen Firefighter Memorial. It is a memorial we hold every second Thursday in October during Fire Prevention Week to honor those Akron firefighters who've made the ultimate sacrifice while serving the citizens of this city. I want to thank those council members who were able to take time out of their very busy schedules and be there. I want to thank Mayor Horgan and his cabinet and those members that were able to be there. That support means so much to my members as we honor those firefighters every year. I also want to thank Chief Clarence Tucker and the rest of Fire Administration for their help getting this memorial prepared and for all the support we received from them. So again, thank you very much. I want to personally point out Councilwoman Sims. I know you came to me about that proclamation, and I was able to read that very proud to read that during the memorial, so thank you, and thank all of you for signing that. The second thing is later that morning, early Friday morning, our firefighters went out and had two significant events. The one that you probably read both of them. The third alarm fire that took place up at St. Thomas Hospital, and the great work that was done by our members evacuating almost 100 patients with no injuries in that event. The second one, a lot more tragic, that happened a couple hours prior to that. We again had actually a double fatality of two beautiful young children, two beautiful young girls over on Seward Avenue. What I wanted to talk about real quick was this is another fire that came in, and there were no smoke detectors in this house. In my 25 plus years as a firefighter in this city, the last year and a half or so, we've had an inordinate amount of fire fatalities where the homes have had either no smoke detectors at all or no working smoke detectors. I want to point out to everybody, once again, with the help of Chief Tucker, who has stated it is his goal to have smoke detectors in every home in the city of Akron, that the Akron Fire Department has partnered with American Red Cross, and we offer free smoke detectors to every city resident, every home, put in by Akron firefighters. We are putting them in on every level of your home and every sleeping area. It is imperative. These deaths are so often avoidable, and we've got to stop having them. We're losing too many people in this city to potentially avoidable tragedies. So please, contact the fire department, and Chief, you can help me if I'm wrong. I believe the number is 330-535-2030 is our hotline for smoke detectors. So please call, get on the list. We install them for free, no cost to any resident. The last thing I want to mention, I know my time's getting short. I was here last couple months supporting issue 4. Issue 4 is the tax increase count. Please
I'll
get
help you out
and
at the end.
Thank you.
I promise.
Had to speak faster next time.
Start.
I appreciate, Madam Chairman and members of the council, what Mr. Brody had to say about the tragedy that happened this last week. Jada and Camara were beautiful kids, and I'm personally grieving for them and for this family that's had a high feeling that Black lives do matter, and justice was given to them, and then this low of this tragedy. And I ask your prayers for the Glover family. I have some documents here I'd like to share with the council. If Mr. Freeman would be kind enough to pass those out. Let me make sure. Time is flying by. Yeah. Thank you. I want to speak appreciation to you, President Keith, and the members of the council for doing something that many of us were waiting for in regards to the unpleasant happening here in the council several weeks ago. And as I said, we're all racists, every one of us, and there's 3 kinds of racists. And some don't know they're racist and deny it, and some are proud of it and wear their Confederate flags or their Nazi emblems or tattoos or whatever. And then there are the ones that are trying their best to fight their racism and to fight it in general. This is, I think, institutional racism is affecting the council. And I try to understand how a person on council with 3,430 votes, putting that person on the council, could be so offensive towards 2 women council members who had a total between them of 42,706 votes. And I think the answer is in the Board of Elections report that you see in front of you. And if I managed to circle some, and I just want to say, Ward 4 is an engine for the Democratic Party in this city, with a record 8,479 votes for Hillary Clinton.
Your time is up, Mr. Beatty. Your
If you
time is
want me to
up,
explain
Mr.
it a little
Beatty.
bit more
I'm sorry.
at another time, I will be happy to.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your prayers.
My name is Wanda Eason.
Would you be able to speak up just a little
My
bit?
name is Wanda Eason. I'm just coming to talk about the lots in Akron, the city lots. I have one next to me and I take care of it because it's hard to get city people to come out to clean it up. Well, anyway, I want to buy the lot, but they want to split the lot. And I'm a homeowner, and that's rental property. And the rental property is, she don't take care of it. And cops are called there all the time. Now, there's no one in there except for one person, was a boarding house, okay? And I feel that if a person is a homeowner, they should be able to get the lot. I understand that we got new homes on our street, but, and you have certain distance and all that kind of stuff. Well, if I buy that lot, I have the same distance to, if you tear down the house, have the same distance to put a new house up. Down further, next to the other house that's a rental property is a house that's been vacant, and it has been tagged, but nothing's been done with it. But when it catch on fire, oh, it's gonna break out. Then next to that, there's a lot, and there's another lot. And there's a house, and there's a vacant house, and another lot. So I was just wondering why they would split a lot, and you got all the lots down the other way. And I think I should be able to get the lot of me being a homeowner, and I also take care of your city lot.
Thank you. Is there anyone from administration that would be able, ma'am? Jason Segedy will be happy to speak with you after this comment period here, if you can just stick around for a little bit. And thank you for taking care of that lot.
Good evening, Council President. My name is Carl Buck, B-U-C-K. I wanted to talk about issue 4. On Saturday, I was out at Station 12, and I was picketing against issue 4. I was addressed by a couple of the, and my reason I'll explain in a minute. I was approached by a couple of the administration and the chief, and was asked what my grievances were. And my grievances are basically that some of the council, the night that we passed the ordinance for putting it on the ballot, said that this money will just be repurposed. Not the issue. The issue 4 money goes where it's supposed to go, just like the mayor said. But some of the council members said we'll just repurpose the normal budget items. That's my concern, and that's the concern I expressed to the administration, to the chief, and Lieutenant Haley, who showed me around the station. I was appalled at the conditions in the station. It is really in sad shape, and that's just one of 2 that are in that kind of shape. I'm embarrassed that council, and not all council, but some of the members would say, we'll repurpose normal budget items, when this station and the police cars that they showed me are in such poor condition. It just appalls me that anybody would take the time to do that and going to repurpose our normal budget item just so that you can get more money. It's like a money grab, and that angered me. My second issue tonight is I worked for Bob Hoke for a couple of years. This was 30 years ago. And Bob and I didn't always see eye to eye. And I'm not in Bob's ward, and we don't have the same political views. But that you're going to censor him for misbehaving a council person, and you're not going to also censor the other people at the same meeting who stood up and yelled and screamed, is a travesty. And I think it's a crime that some people are allowed to get up and yell and scream, and others who tell them to he should not have said, "Shut up and sit down." I will not argue that at all. But that some of us are going to call it racism, that's ridiculous. And the people who don't think they're racist need to take a look at themselves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Pastor Harrison, Antioch Baptist Church, 670 Vernon Odom Boulevard. I want to talk about issue 4. First, I want to invite the Council to my church October 25th at 6 o'clock, where we will have a town hall meeting. Myself, Minister Steve Muhammad, Pastor Sam Hampton. We will engage the citizens. I do not dispute that the safety forces need money. I do not dispute that there is a need to replace fire stations, replace cruisers, but I do have a concern about writing a check and then getting the details later. I think that we need to have more details, and especially because the money comes to council for the distribution. I simply don't trust council anymore. I don't trust council to do what they say they're going to do, because there's a majority, and once that majority is obtained, 7, then either the money can be repurposed, the money can be reallocated, or it can be spent in a certain way. I won't say reallocated, because the money will be used for fire safety, for police, fire, and roads. But I think that there needs to be some more discussion. I think the details need to come out so we won't run into a situation like we did with the schools. And at the end of that, some people feel good, some people feel bad, some people felt like they should have gotten more, some people may have gotten too much. So I invite you to come out to the church October 25th at 6 o'clock and let us talk about issue 4. I am not opposed to issue 4, but I am not for issue 4. I'm for information on issue 4 so that we can make an informed decision before we vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ian Schwarber, and I just wanted to chime in about issue 4 as well, which is to say that I've lived in a few different cities in this state and across the country and in the world, actually. And as far as taxes go, issue 4 is one of those things that is a divisive issue in the city. I understand that, and I think it's in some ways being used as a cudgel for maybe some other things that we're dealing with, that it seems a few moments ago we made a step in the right direction, it seems. So in the spirit of that, maybe I would just suggest we find a way to let issue 4 be about issue 4, and let this be about whether we want to invest in our community or if we're investing enough already. You know, my position on issue 4 is insignificant to what I'm saying, which is that issue 4 should be judged on its own merits by the facts, and that it be a straightforward vote on investment and what our tax dollars go to provide, and if all the things that we need with the current tax structure are adequate for us all. If they're adequate, then you probably know your vote. If we could use a little more assistance to move forward, that's probably your vote as well. So I would just say I'm happy that we're moving in the right direction in the council, it seems, and that we continue to move in that direction. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak at the public comment period? Oops. Seeing none, we will close the public comment period. Now we will set the schedule for next week when we meet, when our committee meetings will be. Rules? 2:30 it is. Budget and Finance?
3 p.m.
Planning?
1:30.
Public Service? 2 o'clock? Public Service? Public Utilities?
2:30.
Public Safety?
2:15.
Parks and Rec?
2:30.
Housing? Health and Social Service? I'm sorry. 2:30. Economic Development? Green Committee?
1 o'clock.
Is there anything else to come before council for the good of council? Councilwoman Amobian?
I rise in support of issue 4, and I think it was clearly stated this afternoon that by charter, we still have to do 27% of the budget that we presently have to go towards the capital improvements. Now, I was probably one of the ones that said something about dollars, limited dollars in the budget. Part of the challenge that we have, and again, those new dollars will go for roads, safety, and fire.
Fire,
Yeah,
police, and roads.
I have to keep in mind, road safety and fire. And there'll be no question about that. And it appears that the mayor is considering trying to isolate those dollars so the citizens will know exactly where they're going. And one of the things I suggested this afternoon, and his staff will discuss it with him, when we did this at the school board level, we had an oversight committee that was comprised of citizens who reported out to the community as to how the dollars were spent. Now, that situation was a little different because that levy was only for 3 years, I believe, and this is is an indefinite period of time. So somehow, I guess he's going to work it so that there's a report to the citizens. But the challenge that we have down here is that we still have limited dollars in our budget, and we still have multitude of needs in our neighborhoods. So we still have to find a way to meet those. So if I misspoke, I will admit that I may have misspoken, but we still have to find a way to pay for those regular things that we have to do to support our neighborhoods. Again, 27% is part of the charter that has to go for capital improvement. That will continue. And we have to find a way. And I think the citizens need to remember that the local dollars that we got from the state, those dollars were always directed to our police force. Now that they have dwindled almost to nothing, those dollars are not there anymore. So we still have to find dollars to meet other needs. So that is all I have to say. But those new dollars will definitely, based on everything I've heard, go for fire, safety, and roads. Am I correct? Yes. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Councilwoman Mosley Samples.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to remind my colleagues in the community that I know we have a lot going on in the month of October. I think we all know that it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I want to stand and give our Akron Fire and EMS guys a shout out for Saturday. They attended the Making Strides Against Breast Cancer Walk, and they raised quite a few funds selling T-shirts that they donated to the Susan A. Coleman Foundation, which was awesome. And also, it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and this Saturday, myself and my fellow colleagues, Mrs. Councilwoman Sims, Somerville, Amobian, Galansky, Sykes, Williams, I don't want to forget anybody. We're hosting a Love, Don't Hurt Women's Empowerment Brunch this Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon at the Akron Urban League. The Urban League is sponsoring the event, and our brunch is being sponsored by several community members, including our Chief Prosecutor Gertrude Williams. And it's a free event, limited space. We are almost at capacity, and it's for ladies only. Sorry, guys. So any ladies who would like to attend, it is free at the Urban League this Saturday. We have a wonderful panel of women and vendors all the way from the domestic violence awareness, City Prosecutor's Office, Hope and Healing, a whole bunch of different agencies to talk to women about domestic violence and what that looks like. So that's this Saturday from 10 to noon at the Urban League. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Neal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to speak to council. I think we have the opportunity coming up. We had an opportunity to put our budget online, and some felt that this wasn't the time. But I think from the comments that we've heard today and some of the concerns about the dollars that we have coming in being directed towards the police, fire, and roads as they are going to be allocated by our charter. But as has been mentioned, the challenge is that we have other needs in the city that need to be met. And as has already been concerned, some residents want to make sure that we don't do what some call a bait and switch like they do with the lottery. When we have the technology and we have members of the Mayor's Citizens Council for open and transparent government, when we have the tools that we can provide our constituents with to put our budget online and have their input, because we're going to have to make some tough challenges, tough decisions on some of the expenditures that we have coming up. The Park and Recreation Board met on Thursday, and our flagship adult rec center is in need of much repair. Where do those dollars come from? It would help to have, for the citizens to be able to see, if we take from economic development to put into Park and Rec, what the impact would be for the city. The tools are out there. We don't have to guess anymore. And if any of you have read the paper over the past 3 weeks, where they've talked about the impact of our water bills on our citizens, the study that the United Way and now it's the Empowerment Center that's coming to the Kenmore community, funds are tight all the way around. If we have the tools to educate ourselves as council and to engage our citizens, we should use those tools. So I mention that because we'll be bringing back in, because we're coming into our budget process, so that we can once again take a look at putting our budget online. If our state representatives can put the state budget online and offer us as local citizens the opportunity to be engaged in the process, the budgeting process, as members of council, we should be able to do the same and use the collective intellectual capital in our community to help us make some of the decisions that we have to this coming budgetary process year. So just wanted to make mention of that. And the other thing is, as has been mentioned, I want to thank the fire department, and I received a message from Lieutenant Lash that they're walking that area and making sure that all the residents have access to smoke detectors. I appreciate that. And just everybody in the community. I've heard from the two schools, Schumacher and Buchtel. I know they're going to do a spaghetti fundraiser. I guess the young ladies were also in some kind of way involved with the Parent Pee Wee Association. I know they're doing something. Lets you know that we come from a very caring community. And so I just want to say thank you. I did not know the family directly, at least I didn't think I knew anyone from the family until I received an email from Dr. Dorsey if any of you know him, and found out that he was related to them in some way. So thank you to all those who have reached out and who are doing things. I know we didn't take a moment, but maybe at the end of the meeting, if we could take a moment just to, I know sometimes we take silence, just a special prayer for that family. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is there anyone else? Please. Mr. Hardy.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to briefly echo Councilwoman Amobian's comments as we had questions here tonight and clarify two things. First is that revenue generated through successful passage of Issue 4 will go, without fail, to support police, fire, and roads. How do I know that? Because it's written into the charter language that voters will be taking a look at. Mayor Horgan has been very vocal and upfront with the fact that there is no bait and switch to this. This is going to be transparent. We will have a report to the community specifically year over year on those dollars. We've been very vocal with our union partners on this in terms of making sure their input is heard as we make the planning. For those in the Institute and also watching online and in future videos, our budget process is completely transparent. The administration puts together a budget proposal which we then put online, and it stays online all year, both in draft and in final form. We then present it to City Council. We have open budget hearings chaired by the budget chair. Anybody can come to those, and we seek input on that as well. We participate in open checkbook. We have done lots of things in the first shy of 2 years to create a more transparent and open environment to the books of the city. We have nothing to hide, and we've been very open about the need around Issue 4. But I just wanted to take that opportunity again to echo some of the comments made that without a doubt, those funds are going to go to support our core city services, police, fire, and improving our streets. And we will continue to try and work to meet the challenges across the city with the other dollars collected on the 2% that goes to city services outside of Issue 4 and the school tax, because we know those challenges still exist. And we'll do so in partnership not only with this council, but with our citizens and all those who make their voices heard.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Before we end this period, I would like to make a comment, and then we will have a moment of silence. I want to thank everyone that was at Station 12 this weekend. We have another one coming up. It's so that if you haven't had the opportunity to see the needs of why we need Issue 4 to pass, Station 12 opened its doors for a couple hours on Saturday, and we had the police there, the fire, mayor, EMS obviously was there, took you on a tour of the building so that you had a better perspective. As we've already heard, it kind of can change our perspectives when we see it. I want to thank Chief Tucker. I want to thank Chief Ball for making sure that they were there. Every child that came had a wonderful time. So I'm going to tell you, if you don't know what to do, bring your child to the next one, or your grandbaby or whatever. Bring the neighborhood. Our next one is, I hate to put you on the spot. Go ahead and announce it.
So the next open house is at Station 6, which is on Hawkins, and it's October 28th, so 2 Saturdays from last Saturday.
October the 28th, and it'll be from 11 until 2, 11 to 1. And when you bring those little ones, they're going to get a little fire hat, they're going to get stickers, they get to sit in the cars. It's really a great learning experience, and obviously I am for Issue 4, and I'm going to tell you why. When I have picked up the phone in an emergency, and I dialed 911, somebody responded. And if you've ever had to do that, you know how important it is that they have the best gear, the best equipment, and that they are driving on roads that can make it to your home. With that, let us take a moment of silence for the 2 young lives that we lost in the fire this weekend. Amen. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Second? All in favor? Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.
This concludes the live broadcast of Akron City Council. Marilyn Keith, President of Council, presiding.